Well, everyone, it's time for us to go and take a look at the Apple Watch first generation, the Apple Watch SE first generation, and see how this particular Apple Watch still holds up basically in late 2024. Now, the first thing I'll definitely tell you is that these types of Apple Watches, I think, are still worth buying in a few different ways. Number one, I think these types of Apple Watches are still kind of interesting for the most part. Apple is no longer selling them, but they are about 4 years old. Now, the thing to keep in mind is that the exterior does kind of look about the same thing as an Apple Watch SE second generation. So the SE2 and the SE1 do look fairly similar for the most part. They're both giving you either the 40mm or 44mm size. And I think that this is a kind of interesting thing to kind of keep in mind here, because the first thing to keep in mind is that they're both going to look fairly similar, the same brightness, basically the same everything kind of all across the board. You're getting the same buttons, same back. So I think that's a nice thing going on here for the most part. Now, on top of that, another very big thing to keep in mind here is that the internals, this is the kind of issue that you're going to be experiencing when it comes down to this type of device. With something like, the Apple Watch SE first generation, this type of device, I think, still looks good, but the software situation is a little bit different. With this type of device, we're not really too sure how long this device is going to last, meaning that there's still a very high chance this device is going to last for a couple more years, or meaning that it's going to last probably for another year or two, but it's not going to be like the longest lasting device of all time. And that's what ends up happening when you're going through and getting these types of devices, right? With something like the Apple Watch SE first generation, this is one of those devices that's here for now, but it's not going to be here for a very long time. And I think that's kind of one of the issues that you're going to be experiencing when you're going through and getting one of these devices. So at the end of the day, I think that in and of itself is another, fairly big thing to kind of keep in mind there for the most part as well. Now, on top of that, another very big thing to keep in mind here too is that the performance of this Apple Watch is still actually not terrible. It has the Apple S5 chip inside of it, and it has 1GB of RAM as you'd probably expect. But the thing you're going to have to keep in mind here is that this thing is pretty much at the same power level as something like an Apple Watch, Series 5. So the thing I'd probably tell you here is that with something like this particular device, you're basically going to be getting the same type of performance as an Apple Watch Series 5, but currently as this point, I'm using an Apple Watch Series 4. And with my Series 4, I'm still having a really good time with it. I think my Apple Watch Series 4 is still a very, very good watch. I feel like this is one of those devices that I still will use on an everyday basis, at least for the next year. And I don't really see myself upgrading anytime soon. And I think this in and of itself is another very big thing to keep in mind, because you can easily go through, pick up one of these types of watches. And I feel like the Apple Watch SE first generation is still very much worth buying in the later part of 2024. This is one of those watches that I think is still worth buying. It's still going to be a very good, powerful watch. I don't think this would be the first watch I'd recommend buying. I think the Apple Watch Series 8 is a really good middle ground of, price and everything like that. But something like the Apple Watch SE first generation is still fairly decent when it comes down to it as well. So from that side, that kind of covers it up there for the most part. If you have any other thoughts or questions, please let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.